We're on a mission from God.
Wendy?
So I got that going for me.
Darling?
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Light of my life.
We enjoy your films.
I am a human being.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in real time. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today marks the 40th anniversary of the release of Hero at Large on February 8th, 1980. It was written by A.J. Carothers, directed by Martin Davidson, and released by United Artists. The original title was Captain Avenger, which is a shame because it starts on this billboard with the word Captain Avenger. And
Well,
would have been nice if they could have stuck to that title.
I think it's interesting that they bothered to change the name of the movie, but they didn't. I mean, it seems like it must have been late in the game that they realized they shouldn't call it this.
I think it could have been a Marvel situation.
Yeah.
They were like, you literally just mixed two of our characters together and like used the same font from the Captain America comics.
Right. But it's just funny to me that they bothered. They're just like, yeah, we won't call it that, but we'll leave it in all the rest of the movie.
Yeah. An actress named Robbie Morgan had auditioned for the J. Marsh part, but during her audition, they immediately said, we like you for a different movie. The Friday the 13th movie, which is coming out later this year. For her, probably better in the long run.
Yeah, probably.
We start with him like running lines with his actress friend.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens up with what's the word I'm looking at? Misdirect.
Right.
Where she's complaining that she's pregnant, and then he's acting flabbergasted, like, I don't want this pregnancy.
How are you feeling?
But that's when you find out. Yeah, they are
It's just
lines.
Yeah.
And I okay, you got me. I wasn't sure what to expect from this movie.
It's a funny way to set up that he's an actor in the beginning. And also that he's a good person because he's just helping out a friend reading lines. It's not like he's getting that much out of it. He meets his new neighbor, who it turns out also works in film.
And is super hot.
Yeah. Is she super hot?
I don't know. From his perspective, she's super hot.
He seems enamored.
She's John Ritter hot.
Yeah. John Ritter is arguably hotter than this woman.
I don't know. I think she's adorable.
Yeah, she's great. Right now, his gig is playing a character called Captain Avenger for a marketing campaign for a feature film, which they kind of like ignore the fact that this is a character in a movie for the whole rest of the story.
Right. He also moonlights, or I don't know if it's his moonlight or his actual job, as a cab driver.
Yeah.
But that never seems to come into play, and I guess he makes $0 at it because he never seems to have any money.
Yeah, he's literally just
rent.
not paying his rent, and he doesn't have any other expenses. Although he's like willing to take other people out for lunch.
Right.
Like, he sees like a homeless person, and he's like, "Oh, you want to go out for some coffee? I got to tell you this crazy story." He's just like spending his money on people, and it's like, but you also just got locked out of your apartment because you're not paying your rent.
I think that's part of his character development.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely on purpose. But you're right; he has an income beyond his acting work.
Yeah, it's also in the days of the 25-cent cup of coffee.
Right, that's true. But he's outside of a theater, dressed as this character, Captain Avenger, and he's being harassed by a bunch of teenagers. One of whom is a very early appearance, not the first feature film appearance, but a very early appearance for Mr. Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, unmistakable.
Yeah,
I was just like, hey.
I thought it was going to be one of those cameos where you're like, if you squint, you can tell. And it's like, no, this is very blatantly Kevin Bacon showing up all of a sudden.
And did you say this is his first?
Not his very first.
No,
he had other roles before this. I think he'd been in 2 movies before, and one of them he didn't have like a character name. But so this is his second or third film, and
credited as second teenager.
I was going to say,
he couldn't
have possibly had a character name in this. He runs up to him and yells at him for a few seconds, but he's also
runs away. Technically the second, because he's not the first kid to make fun of Captain Avenger.
But he tried so hard to get that first position.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Didn't make first chair.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's on his way home from this job, he stops at like some corner store that presumably he goes to all the time, but he's still dressed as Captain Avenger, and this store is getting robbed while he's there. And he's a character actor, but he's also like, he's very method, so
Right.
he just goes right into superhero mode.
But we also had some shots of him earlier, like keeping in good shape, exercising.
Right. It seemed like he was trying to get into character by doing exercises and watching the original series.
Well, I think he just takes care of himself.
Yeah.
Sure,
Because
maybe.
he also talks about that he's takes fencing and stage fighting. So
Right. He's an actor. He's got to have a lot of stuff on the resume.
Right.
On the back of the headshot. But yeah, so he interrupts the robbing of this corner store, and the people are so happy that they let him take his milk without paying for it.
Right.
And he insists on paying, but they're still like, no, please. It's the least we could do. For someone who probably staged a fight with some robbers just to get a free half a gallon of milk.
No,
they don't think
this
that.
one's genuine.
This one's very genuine.
Well, so he excitedly wants to tell people
Right.
about this crazy thing that happened.
And he wants to go tell his new neighbor, which the last time he talked to her, he found out that she's like, what is she, a producer?
She's a
Set
commercial.
designer.
Set design?
Production designer or set designer?
Oh,
okay.
I thought she was a producer. She said, "I make commercials." Like, you know.
I say that too when I'm a PA, so.
You say you make commercials?
Yeah.
I
if
thought
work
of
on
her more
commercials.
like a producer type, but I don't know if it's
either
clear.
way, she's on set of this dog food commercial. She works on like a specific campaign of dog food commercials with this star dog Sparky or something, and he goes to tell her on set. He like figures out where their closed restaurant set is and just wanders in to tell her about what happened. And she's like, "You got to get out of here. I'm at work. We can talk about this later."
And I thought for sure they were setting up when they reset the position of the commercial with having all these people coming in the front door. I thought for sure the joke was going to be he's going to be stumbling in because he got caught up in the crowd with them while he's trying to leave, and now he's inadvertently part of this commercial.
Yeah, he's in it now.
But that doesn't happen.
Nope.
I wanted it to happen though.
But when he gets home, the landlord reminds him, "Oh, by the way, you're a couple weeks overdue or a couple months overdue on your rent."
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Oh yeah, no, I should have a check here. It's not here. Sorry." So can't do anything about it. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, there's a campaign manager and a PR office, and he's complaining that all the polls are saying that his candidate is slumping in the polls. The current mayor, who is running for re-election, and people don't like him, and the town is a mess of crime. But they're really excited about this superhero that came through and like saved the day.
Yeah. And so you know what the best thing is for a political campaign? Fake superheroes.
Exactly.
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Just riding that goodwill tour. It's essentially Wag the dog.
Right. But the campaign manager here is Kevin McCarthy, who is wonderful. I just love him in everything.
Yeah.
But he was in the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1956 version. And he was Dr. Hoke in Piranha.
Yeah.
But I always go to UHF.
Yeah. Well, he's in a lot of Joe Dante stuff.
Yeah.
But I always think of his character as of Scrimshaw in the
Inner
movie
Space.
Inner Space.
Yes. And he's also in The Howling, too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The Howling 2?
No, he's not in The Howling 2. What is the name of The Howling 2? It's like Your Sister is a
Your
Werewolf.
sister is a werewolf?
Is that 2 or 3? Like, what is the title is literally The Howling 2 or 3. Your Sister is a Werewolf. It's just like, I'm sorry. Can we just pause for a second? Is that the log line or is that the title?
No,
That's the title. Is English your first language? Fourth.
It's the second one.
It's the second
Yeah,
movie.
It's the second one.
Your-
Howling to your your sister is a werewolf.
Wow. That's
Starring Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
Well,
Christopher. Yeah.
Christopher Lee, yeah. He was required to be in every movie for a good chunk of the 70s and 80s. What is the guy's name in UHF? A UHF station. He's just so great.
Because of some fly-by-night UHF station, a UHF station.
He's the head of like the network station, and he's furious that Weird Al's station is like ruining him in
Ratings.
the ratings. Yeah, as soon as the campaign manager leaves the office, the PR company's like, "Oh my god, we hired a bunch of people to dress up like Captain Avenger. I bet that was one of our guys. We'll just leave him out there, and he's gonna like bring the mayor's numbers up just by being out there fighting crime because he's gonna make people excited about the city."
Well, the head of this PR firm makes a lot of leaps. Like,
Yeah.
It's just like, no, I know for sure it's one of our guys.
Well, what are the chances though? They gave out like 36 costumes, and then yesterday, and the robbery was thwarted that night.
But then he holds up the picture of John Ritter and goes, I think it's this guy.
Yeah, I think it's him.
They had like 4 that they had narrowed it down to.
Based on absolutely nothing.
No, I think that they like did some research before they got to that narrowing it down.
Just based on like the neighborhoods that they were from or something, maybe? I mean, there's a whole bus full of these guys dressed as this character.
Yeah, I think they said they had 62.
I think they said 60.
Oh, yeah, maybe it is.
It was a lot.
But
Which
he was like,
actually
well, let's
sounded
get the
kind of crazy
costumes
to
back.
me. Like, what are you doing that you're advertising this film
It's
with
the weirdest campaign ever.
60 fake superheroes around your city in one evening? Like, first of all, this is a movie, and that's clearly not the guy that's in the movie. Who cares about, like, signing an autograph with some Joe Schmo you stuck in a suit? Like, that just seems like a really weird advertising campaign.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Disney has a bunch of people at their park dressed up as Captain America wandering around. So it's like, part of it is just like outreach to the fan base if it's a franchise or something like that. But it's weird that anyone would, like anyone over the age of like 8 would be legitimately interested in talking to a person dressed as this character.
It'd be meeting a mall Santa.
Yeah. But so he, Steve, our lead, flubs an audition because he can't concentrate because the guy that he's running his lines with is supposed to be playing a woman, but it's just like an electrician that was on set, just like reading the lines very like straightforward. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble like keeping a straight face for this scene. And they're like, next. He's like, crap. So he gets in his taxi and he's driving around playing Mr. Incredible, listening to the police radio, and he hears about a car chase that's going on, like an active car chase that he just immediately involves himself with as it turns right on. Like, he wouldn't even need the radio because it turns right in front of him onto his street. And he just starts pursuing the guy after the cops even lose him and causes the car to flip in the road.
Yeah, it seems a little reckless considering this cab is your alternative form of income in theory. So
I mean, it doesn't seem to be doing much good.
Yeah,
but
we don't
it
even know
seems
if
a
it's
little
his
careless
cab.
of him.
Right.
Like it might belong to the cab company too.
Yeah, it
which
probably
is even worse.
does. Well, we never see him return it, so maybe he's broke because he spent all of his money on it.
In fact, I don't think we see the cab ever again.
Yeah.
After this scene, yeah, this might be the end of it.
I mean,
but
I guess he is rather reckless. He is chasing down people in a vehicle he doesn't know and then gets out and they have a gun.
Yeah, the guy gets out of the upside down car with a gun and just immediately shoots Steve in the arm, and he just like, not from the force of the bullet, but just from the shock of having been shot, just collapses in the street like, oh God, this is why people don't do this.
And he really didn't actually do anything to thwart this crime from happening. He just stalled them long enough and the police showed up.
But he did shout to the guy. He was like, hey, you, stop right there. And then he gets shot in the arm and he's like, ow. But it's like the kick-ass or super moment where you realize, oh, this is why people don't fight crime in costumes. I just remembered, because they're not bulletproof and you don't have superpowers. So he collapses, but he gets back in the cab and leaves because he doesn't want to be like interrogated by the police. He's not trying to get his name out there. He just thinks that he's a good superhero, or hero, I guess. He's not a superhero. He doesn't have powers.
Crime fighter.
Is
a caped crusader.
Superhero is just for people.
A hero at large.
Right. But technically, so are you a superhero if you don't have powers? Or are you just a crime fighter?
No, you're just a crime fighter.
So Batman is not a superhero.
Correct.
Okay.
Iron Man, not a superhero.
Well, he
doesn't have superpowers.
That's true. That's true. He's got money.
He's got,
right,
which is
Batman
exactly the same
has.
thing Batman has.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would say not a superhero.
Okay.
I might argue that is not the case.
That's not the line?
That
it doesn't have to be superpowers within your body?
I think above ordinary skill.
So superhuman ability.
Superhuman ability, be it naturally occurring in your body or through augmentation, I think is acceptable.
Okay. Well, because Tony Stark doesn't have any superhuman ability. Even if he is, like, turns out he's the smartest person on the planet.
His robot suit has superhuman abilities, though.
Right, but that means that everyone is a superhero, because if any of them had that suit.
And they are. Any of the other friends of his, you know.
Well, you're taking the theme of this movie very literally.
When Pepper Potts puts on his suit, when What's-His-Face War Machine puts on the suit, he becomes a superhero.
Right, but they're not a superhero outside of the suit.
Neither is Tony Stark. He's
That's
just
okay.
an
So you're agreeing
entrepreneur.
that far that when he's not in the costume, he's not a superhero.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's just Tony.
He's just Tony. I love that you're on a first name basis with this fictional character. But yes. So anyway, superhero discussion aside, he is shot and goes home, and he's collapsed in the hallway because he's locked out of his apartment.
Yeah.
Because the landlord finally pulled the trigger and locked it.
Pull the trigger. Oh.
That. His neighbor comes home, who this whole time is referring to herself as J, just the letter J.
Yeah.
Her name is J. Marsh, and she sees him in the hallway, and he explains, "Oh, guess what? You know that robbery that happened? Well, that was me, and I did another dumb thing, and I got shot. Look at here's blood." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, well, why don't we go in there and try and take care of that?" And he's like, "Well, the funny thing here, I got this lock on my door." And so she brings him into her apartment, and she says something like, "What is his full name?" It's like Steve
Nichols.
Steve Nichols.
Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Nichols. Well, she calls him S. Nichols.
It's because they refer to each other by their
Mailbox
mailboxes.
codes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I missed that joke. But then so she brings him in and explains that her actual name is Jolene, and that she moved from another nicer place to this terrible apartment complex. And he keeps asking her about it, and she doesn't want to go into it. She dresses his wound and basically says, "You can stay here for a while since you can't get into your place." Then the PR guy that we saw earlier arguing with the campaign manager says, "Hey, you know what? We can get this superhero. We kind of own him, so we can get him to endorse your guy and keep fighting crime in the city, and everyone will love it." The mayor, by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but he's only in 2 movies.
Yeah.
He's only ever been in 2 films, and it was this and Taxi Driver. Here he's playing the mayor, and in that movie he's playing the guy running for Congress, Palantine.
And both have encounters with people who drive taxis.
And who would think they are superheroes and try and save the day.
And get shot.
And get shot. So
And are...
so it's basically the same movie.
But that's not Al Pacino.
No.
It's Robert De Niro. Oh, boy.
But yeah, there's a lot of connections to Taxi Driver in this movie in terms of like, oh, anyone could be a hero if you're doing the right thing. The mayor says, or the campaign manager says, "All right, well, if you can lock this down, then I'm not going to leave you for a different PR firm that we've been talking to." And so the PR guy manages to track down Steve and says, "Hey, we want you to endorse the mayor at a speech, and we want to start setting up scenes, basically. We want you to keep fighting crime and making the people happy.
But this time, we're going to be in control of the situation.
Yeah.
And we're going to have witnesses."
Right.
I'm so distracted by your commentary about what Taxi Driver is about that anybody can be a hero.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, that's what to me, the point of Taxi Driver is that it's a very thin line between a maniac and a hero.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, I feel like, Travis Bickles is more of an anti-hero.
Well, that's the thing, is that he could have been like a cold-blooded murderer, but in the end he's being celebrated as like this national treasure for killing a bunch of pimps and saving this little girl. But it's like, it's just because he screwed up the assassination that day that he went and killed different people. And so, but literally anybody, even a mass murderer, could be a hero if he's mass murdering the right group of people.
Yeah. Okay, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I was just, that was, calling him a hero is...
Yeah, it's weird. Well, they do it at the end of the film.
Yeah, no, I know. I guess
he's
that's
getting
the point.
letters from the family and everything. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Taxi. Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver. If you haven't seen Taxi,
oh my God,
that
there's
show
this
takes
crazy
a turn.
Steve is on a train the next day that is suddenly being held up by a man, and he's asking for everyone's wallets and telling everybody to get down and put their hands on the ground. And then Steve shows up and saves the day, beats the guy up, and gets him arrested by the police. And
yeah, miracle that he's on the train.
Yeah, and then he was able to instantly
in
change into the costume.
Yeah.
And there's a reporter woman, this sort of pessimistic, reporter woman who's like making fun of the campaign the whole time as she reports on it. And even here, she's kind of like, this is weirdly convenient, isn't it, that he just showed up out of nowhere? And then some of the witnesses are talking about the speech that he gave on the train about how everyone can help out and he's there to save the day. And she's like, that sounds weirdly familiar. Like, I feel like I've heard these words before. And she puts two and two together that this was a staged moment.
But how she comes to have her quote unquote informant, I don't understand how we got there.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute.
But yeah, so one last time, Steve tries to basically push Jay into a relationship, which she is not interested in, and was like, yeah, I kind of thought that you had this impression in your head. That's not what we are. I'm not interested. So leave me alone. And he goes...
but it's more than that, though. It's actually like the sweetest rejection.
Yeah, because she's smiling the whole time.
Well, she's smiling the whole time, but she's also saying things like, I can imagine us having kids together, and like that's not what I
don't want to take care of you.
Like, yeah, that's not what I want right now. So it was really kind of sweet because she was just like, she's like, I don't want to get caught up in this because I could really fall for that and fall for you and like have all these things that I do want.
She's like, I want a career,
but
and
she's
I can't
not
have
ready
that with
for
you.
it,
Yeah.
and so she's rejecting him in sort of the sweetest, kindest way, being like, I really do like you.
Yeah. So he's bummed about that, and he's bummed about faking this life-saving on the train. So he goes to the PR people and he says, you know what, never mind, I don't want to do this. This isn't. And they're like, well, what, you're an actor, didn't you want to act? Isn't this what you wanted to do? And he's like, what I wanted to do was help people, and I'm not actually helping anyone. And he's like, oh, well, people think you are. It's like, that's not the point. So he tells them he's not going to do it anymore. And we cut to where he was supposed to be given the key to the city and endorsing the mayor, and he hasn't shown up yet, and they're starting to freak out. So the mayor speaks for a while, and everyone's booing him because they're like, we don't care about you. We want to see Captain Avenger, which is weird because, again, this is a world where this movie came out. So if you hear Captain Avenger is going to give a speech after the mayor or endorsing the mayor, you expect Chris Evans to show up,
right?
Not the guy from Disneyland.
They also have 61 other Captain Avengers who could just show up.
Yeah, there's no reason that you have to wait for this specific guy. You have a bunch of people in costumes where their eyes are obscured.
Partially.
Yeah.
By the weird visor that sort of just sticks
just
off at like this funny angle off their face.
But yeah, so he shows up at the last second and speaks to the crowd and basically gives this whole anyone can be a hero speech about how, you just have to believe in yourself, and when you see something wrong happening, you have to step in, and you can't just let bad things happen. And literally any one of you could do everything that I've done so far. Then the pessimistic reporter turns the crowd against him.
Right.
And her informant is the guy that held up the train.
Right. And
who presumably was getting paid for that job.
Right. And how she found him is the big question mark.
Right.
Like,
well, I would assume he went to her.
But why? Again, he's getting paid for a job.
I don't have the actor's name here. Maybe you can look it up. The hold-up man. But he is a stuntman, obviously, because he has a big fight with... his picture is a Gorn.
Is he the Gorn?
He is the Gorn. From the Gorn scene from Star Trek.
Gary Combs.
Gary Combs, there you go. So he's the Gorn from the climactic Gorn scene at Vasquez Rocks.
Okay, this is the weird green monster that Kirk fights at Vasquez Rocks.
Two-hand punch at.
Yeah, the captain against captain fight.
Yeah. But yeah, so he is a stuntman on the film, and the actor playing the hold-up man who comes back to turn the crowd against Captain Avenger. And he decides that he's just going to leave town. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that the crowd is kind of split.
That's true. There's some people that got the message, and there's some people that didn't.
Yeah, like they actually start brawling over it. Like the believers versus the non-believers.
Which is the opposite of what he wanted anyway. He didn't want people fighting over his legacy. He was just trying to get a message out there. But so he goes home, he puts all his stuff in a suitcase, and he's like, all right, I'm out of here. And Jay Marsh is like, I got the message. Like, other people watching got the message. I'm not the only person that was paying attention to what you said. And the fact that you faked this train thing is terrible, but it doesn't invalidate your point. And And so he's like, yeah, whatever, bye. And he leaves. And as he's walking away, you hear fire trucks and an ambulance. And it turns out the building down the street is on fire. And it's a Spider-Man situation.
Yeah.
They've gotten everybody out except for one woman who can't find her baby.
I was going to go Incredibles.
Oh, yeah. It's been the exact scenarios in a bunch of movies. Probably backdraft like 4 times. But yeah, so they get this woman out of the top floor. And she's like, I can't find my son. I don't know where he is. You got to get him out of there. And they're like, no, we got to get all the firefighters out of the building. That place is going to come down. So, again, he jumps to the rescue and goes right into the building. Well, somehow he's just on the roof.
Yeah, he made up the roof somehow.
Well, they show him, like, standing in the crowd, like, seeing this go down.
Right.
And then suddenly...
And then there's one quick shot of him completely naked in the alleyway trying to put on his tights to change into the Captain Avenger costume.
I think he was still wearing it from when he went to the
was he?
event.
I thought he was back in his regular clothes.
No, he was just wearing a homeless man's overcoat.
Oh, okay, on top of it. You're right. Yeah. He was like the Ninja Turtles do, and they're above ground. They got their fedoras
in the trench coats with no shoes.
Yeah, just walking around with big weird green feet with 3 toes. Bunch of sewer freaks. But yeah, so he jumps roof to roof and gets into the building and finds the kid locked in a bathroom. So when his mom was like, honey, you got to get out of there, the building's on fire, he was like, I'm taking a crap, Ma. I locked the door for a reason.
Like as a mother, like I would be a little bit more specific about my child, because I was literally thinking he was trying to find a baby in there, like, and this kid was like 10.
Yeah, because she's screaming, "My baby, my baby." I mean, I understand, like, you know,
which made it that much more confusing. Baby, when she was like, "I can't find him," and I was like,
where the hell do you put your baby?
Like, where was your baby while you were home that you can't find it? Because if he goes in there and this baby's in a crib, I'm going to not forget the line where she said, I couldn't find the baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was in the baby box where you put babies. But it was just like,
Sandra Bullock.
It's like, I didn't even check every room. I couldn't find my son. It's like, were any of the doors locked? Well, yeah, the bathroom, but I don't know where he is. So... turns out he was in the bathroom. She should have checked there. I honestly would die in a fire before I would be at the window going like, I can't find my kid. I would just be like, Jack, where are you? He goes and he saves the kid, but before he can get out of the building, it collapses.
Oh man, he has to drop the kid onto like one of those
beds. Like 4 or 5 stories.
But he just full on just goes, but
I mean, I think that's the right way to do it. I don't think there's like a preferred method for throwing a child
I don't think
off a
you
building.
want any trajectory on this thing.
No. Like, I thought he was gonna say like hang on, kid. Don't flail on the way down or something. He just kind of.
The firemen were giving him a countdown. I think the point is that he's supposed to just go limp and fall. But yeah, so he's standing on this edge and he just drops the kid into the thing. But then before he can get down, the walls collapse around him. And we get a bunch of shots of people freaking out, including Jay, who is now caught up with the firefighters.
Right.
And she's losing it. She's like, somebody's got to get in there and help him. And the firemen are like, nah, we can't go in there. Like, it's too bad of a problem. And these 2 guys that we kept cutting to during his speech downtown are like looking at each other like, we're heroes.
I like the way the guy says, I'm going in.
Yeah. And so these 2 guys decide they're going to go help him. And even the chief of the fire department is like, whatever, I'm going in too.
Yeah, I'll go in. You guys stay out. Like, I'm not going to risk my men's life.
Right.
I'll risk
But
my
I'm
life.
going to do it myself, and he's old, so it's fine. And
they all die.
They all die. But the point is that they're heroes. They die heroes. No, they get him, and they get him out. And it's cool. There's this one long, like, tracking shot of them coming out of the building. It's not all one shot, but... there's one shot of them coming through the front doors, and then there's a shot that follows them from the sidewalk all the way up to the fire trucks away from the building, and then while they're standing there at the building, Jay comes up and says, oh, I love you, and then the building collapses behind them. Mm-hmm. But it clearly, like, showers a bunch of debris where they were standing at the beginning of this take.
Yeah, I mean, there's pyrotechnics that went off where they were. The building doesn't totally collapse.
Right.
The pieces fall off of it where they were standing.
But 8 extras were killed in this scene.
8?
No,
8 extras?
No, nobody died. Okay. But anyway, I thought that was a cool shot. That it was all one piece of them coming out of the building and then the eruption happening behind them.
Yeah, but then we get the thing that made me mad about this movie.
What's that?
The reporter, Gloria Preston, because the camera guy's like, that was him, wasn't it? The guy from the movie house. And she goes, you know what? It doesn't matter who it was. It's like, yes, it does. Because you literally just ruined this man's life.
Yeah, including
he's
even,
a fake hero.
Even tomorrow, people are going to be like, oh, who saved the kid? Oh, the superhero that's getting paid to pretend to save people? Oh,
Right.
okay. Great. Oh, good job, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Nice.
fake fire. You pulled a kid from fake fire. Awesome.
So who do we charge this building to at your PR firm? Because you obviously did this on purpose. Like, the arson investigation is going to be years.
Yeah. Like, at least have I really needed a scene of the reporter issuing some kind of retraction. You know, it's like, heroes do exist.
Maybe she feels like it's still true, and it's like, I don't know, there's 62 of these costumes out there. Could have been anybody. It's irrelevant if he actually saved the day or not, because I already got paid.
And that's made me mad.
Yeah.
I am really angry with that situation.
But that's basically the end of the movie.
I always wonder about movies that choose to continue to roll footage over the credits.
Yeah.
And
Ghostbusters does it, I know.
Like, it's like a decision. It's like, all right, the scene's over. They've walked out of frame.
Yeah.
But
and it's usually like a 4-minute tilt to sky.
Yeah, but this was just like a steady thing, and it was constant. They may have looped it, but
yeah, I don't think so. I think it's all one piece.
So it's such a strange thing to think about. Like, this, okay, now we just need to continue to shoot 5 minutes of
this
room
way.
tone.
Nobody go over there.
Yeah, just 5 more minutes. Just keep it going. Keep it going.
I don't remember what shot are we going out on?
It's literally looking down the street back towards their apartment from where the fire was.
They're walking away
right.
from the camera, and you see like a fire truck, and the only thing that you know that it's still rolling is because the fire truck light is spinning. The whole
So
time.
you're seeing the light change.
Yeah, so I mean that's why they said they could have really cleverly looped it.
Yeah.
But also it just seems like an odd choice just to use up all that film for that and get it processed and everything just to be over the credits.
This whole movie seems like an expensive use of film.
Ouch.
No, it's not. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I liked it. This is the director Martin Davidson's 4th film. It's the first one he didn't write. It was written by A.J. Carothers. This was Carothers' second to last film. Secret to My Success was his last film. John Ritter as Steve Nichols is obviously people know from Three's Company, or if you're younger, maybe 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. I like Problem Child.
Yeah.
is some of my favorite work from him.
No Love for Hearts of Fire?
I don't know that.
No?
What's Hearts of Fire?
He was like he worked for some senator, and some was like, it wasn't like Spin City, but he worked in politics in some kind of way.
Was it a TV show?
Yeah. I want to say.
Doesn't even sound familiar.
I want to say it was him and Annie Potts.
Oh. Well, I should like it, because Annie Potts is adorable.
So is John Ritter.
That's true.
It was Marky Post. Sorry.
Oh,
also great.
Marky Post sucks.
What?
Who's Marky Post?
She was one of the attorneys on Night Court.
Oh, okay.
Her and John Larroquette.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, like the short-haired...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ann Archer was Jay Marsh, who plays Michael Douglas's wife in Fatal Attraction. She's also Danny DeVito's ex-wife on Always Sunny. She's the mother of Dee and Dennis on that show.
Really?
Yeah. And she plays the wife of Harrison Ford on both of his Jack Ryan outings, Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. Bert Convy, who plays the PR representative Walter Reeves, will be Brad next year in Cannonball Run for us. Kevin McCarthy, obviously, we already went over. He was Calvin Donnelly, the campaign manager, and just hilarious that guy. It seems like he leaned into his funnier stuff later in life. Like he was more of a serious or a scary actor.
Yeah, but he must have a really good sense of humor.
Yeah.
About the situations of things that he's in.
But the stuff that he gets done in UHF is just like, that's career making for me. It's just the funniest.
I think it's because he looks like that kind of person who could just get enraged.
Yeah.
He's got a good rage face.
Yeah. And take that ridiculous thing off.
And take that ridiculous thing off.
And his son is wearing like a raccoon hat, and he goes up and rips his mustache off. Harry Bellaver played Eddie, who I think is Steve's agent in this movie, and this was his second to last film role before playing an old miner in Larry Cohen's The Stuff.
The Stuff.
Which is, I think it's like a Blob ripoff. I'm pretty sure it played at the New Beverly recently.
I think it's the things that you put in like door jams. It's an expanding foam.
No, that's different. And we talked about Leonard Harris already. He played the mayor and Charles Palantine in Taxi Driver. He's not even an actor. He was in these 2 movies, but he's not an actor by trade. His career was as an obituary journalist.
That's a career?
Apparently.
You know those things are really expensive.
Obituaries?
Yeah. To like actually post one of them in the
Oh,
newspaper?
to post. I was like, I always get them for free. Yeah. But that's about it for the cast on this one.
Well, a special appearance by Dr. Joyce Brothers.
Oh, right, yeah. They when they show, there's some TV commentators talking about this superhero running amok in town, a la the montage in Ghostbusters where they're like, oh, what do you think about these Ghostbuster characters?
Yeah, there's essentially like that, just like where he had like Larry King, or we had Dick Cavett in the in the previous movie.
In Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, he had Larry King and he had a couple other people.
Casey Kasem.
He was on like Joe Franklin or something.
Oh, wait, sorry. I thought we were talking about back to Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Joe Franklin is the guy who's like...
Yeah, I'm sure there's one big question on everybody's mind, and I imagine you are the man to answer that. How is Elvis, and have you seen him lately?
And then we had, of course, Casey Kasem.
Right, yeah. The boys in blue slugged it out with a pesky poltergeist, then stayed on to dance the night away with some lovely ladies who witnessed the disturbance.
This is Casey Kasem. Now on with the countdown.
So, Hero at Large, is this worth watching?
I actually would say, yeah. I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable, and I think that it's a unique opportunity to see John Ritter do some stuff.
Yeah, early John Ritter. This is like halfway through his run on Three's Company.
Yeah,
because it ran for about 8 years.
To be fair, I never watched Three's Company. I knew of him. I knew of it.
I only watched The Ropers,
but I never. The what?
The Ropers. I didn't watch either, actually.
The Ropers were the first landlords, played by Audra Lindley and Norman Fell.
Yeah.
I effing love Three's Company.
Did Don Knotts come in at the end of the series?
No, yeah, he came in later when the Ropers did their spinoff.
Oh, okay.
So Mr. Furley was brought in.
But it was called The Ropers, right? The
correct,
spinoff,
it was called The Ropers.
Okay. See, I don't even know any of this.
Yeah.
But Richard is slightly older than us.
Yes.
Barely.
Slightly.
Oh, your teeth fell.
I'm giving this movie a pass. Watch Three's Company instead.
Yeah. No, I think I probably side with Richard on this one. I think that yeah, I wouldn't say this is a must-watch situation. It is enjoyable. I'm not trying to change your vote. We're just putting our 2 cents in.
But your vote no longer matters.
But yeah. So anyway, canceled, what she said. Letterboxd. Where does this go on Letterboxd for you, Jess?
Well, I actually put it after The Fog and ahead of American Gigolo.
And what about you, Richard?
I actually put this below American Gigolo, but above Simon.
Okay, so you guys are finally changing.
Not by much. Really? You'd rather watch American Gigolo again than this?
Yeah, I think I would.
Oh.
I actually put it below American Gigolo and above To All a Good Night. Yeah, but that's about it for this one. If you guys have any thoughts you'd like to share with us, we are Vintage Video Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Letterboxd, or as I've said before, you can find each of our full movie rankings for the year. We're also available at vintagevideopodcast.com. Please consider rating us on iTunes to help people find the show, and if you take the time to leave us a review, we will personally thank you in an upcoming episode. If you're feeling especially generous, you can support the show through patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be discussing The Last Married Couple in America, which IMDb succinctly summarizes thusly. Mari and Jeff Thompson start to doubt their own marriage when every couple they know separate. We leave you now with a trailer for The Last Married Couple in America.
God, Marv, you and Sally? You got along so well, really making it.
Not really.
But every time we were with you, whenever we saw you together, I mean, well, I know every marriage has its problems, but you guys, 23 years?
It was all fake.
No.
It was all pretense.
Jeez.
It got to be that way. Play acting, both of us. It was so phony sometimes we go home and be sick, but we still kept on doing it.
We were wondering why you dropped out of class.
Ah, we hated that class.
Why'd you take it?
I don't know. Everybody's taking something.
You want another drink?
Yeah.
I still can't figure it. What happened, Marv?
I don't know. Everything's so confused. You know what I mean? Police strikes and women's live in condominiums.
What has that got to do with your marriage?
Huh? I don't know. Something.
But what about Sally?
I don't know who she is. She disappeared years ago. I think I did too. What about you? Your marriage is rotten, right?
Hey, Marv.
Come on.
No, we go through the blahs, but...
Come on. Come on, tell me the truth. You can tell me the truth.
I'm telling you the truth.
Whenever anybody used to ask me, I used to say, yeah, mine's great, just great, but I was lying. You're lying too, right?
I'm not lying.
Yeah?